Is this Navara Bucky Nirvana? Hi guys, Eric here and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be having a look at this 2017 Nissan Navara 2.3dCi 4x4 double cab LE. It sure is big. Is it worth your hard-earned cash though? A really big thank you to the accommodating, thoughtful and helpful staff here at ASJ Motors. They have a huge selection of quality used cars located in two locations in the Overberg region. One is in the industrial area of Hermanus, the other is located on the main road of Verliesdorp. They are open for business, so be sure to check out their catalogue, link in the description box below. If you live in the Western Cape and you have an original car in good condition you would like me to review, please get in touch. There's an email address in the description box below. The Navara is a bakkie from Japanese manufacturer Nissan. It is Nissan's answer to the Toyota Hilux, the Ford Ranger and VW Amarok, amongst many more. It has a huge history starting before World War II, so I will only be glancing over each generation. The Type 13 truck was a single cab bakkie based on the Type 13 car released in 1934. It was followed by the 1121 in 1946, but was almost identical and made out of very simple parts because Japan was war-torn at the time. Its engine developed a measly 7 kilowatt. As Japan recovered though, the bakkies were updated over the next decade or so. In 1955, Nissan, going by Datsun at the time, released the 120, a bakkie based on Datsun's own 1000 sedan. It came in many different configurations, including a panel van. At the end of the 120's life, power was at a maximum of 20 kilowatt. The 220 that followed had a payload of 850 kilograms. Excellent for the time. Power was equally up to 44 kilowatt. Its successor, the 320, was introduced in 1961. It used the same engine as the 223 and was available as a single cab, double cab and van. The 520 replaced the 320 in 1965 and ran for 3 years. It got a brand new 1.3-litre inline-4 engine, but with its facelift, it became available with a 1.6 that produced a very decent 70 kilowatt. In 1972, Nissan released the 620. This model was equipped with a 2.2 diesel engine, producing an impressive for the time 49 kilowatt. It was available with two different wheelbases as well. The 720 of 1979 was quite a bit bigger in size and received a host of new engines, fleshing out its variants considerably. The D21 was unveiled in 1985. It came available with V6 power and a 2.4 four-cylinder engine similar to that of the 200SX sports car. You even got an option of an automatic transmission and air conditioning. How ritzy. 2- and 4-wheel drive versions were available too. In 1997, the hardbody was released. This model, codenamed the D22, is to this day available brand new as the workhorse of the Nissan bakkie range. It is built locally to boot. Its engine ranges were vast, as were their configurations. The D40 Nissan Navara was released here in 2006. Quite a bit bigger than its competition, it was available with a 2.5 turbo diesel unit in 2 states of tune, as well as a V6 engine with 195 kilowatt. 5-speed autos were standard, and a 6-speed manual was an option on the diesel. I personally loved the design of this generation. It is my favorite of all Nissan bakkies to date, except maybe for the 1400 and the Champ. This is the D23. It was released in 2014 with a lot of attention-grabbing headlines, the most apparent of which was independent rear suspension, something essential for on-road handling and ride, but very rare for a bakkie. The 2.3 inline-4 turbo diesel engine received praise too for its refined nature along with competitive specs. Mercedes-Benz even uses the same frame along with switchgear as the Navara for its own double cab, the X-Class. Looks-wise at least, I really like the look of the D23. It looks suitably bitch but elegant and modern at the same time. The front in particular looks very cohesive and upmarket, especially in this top-of-the-range LE trim. In profile, there isn't much to report on with the exception of the relatively small windows along with a nice design kink at the rear. The rear looks very similar to almost all other Buckies, so not much to report here either. What is the interior like though? Having recently reviewed the VW Amarok, Toyota Hilux and Everest SUV, there are a couple of things that jump at me when I have a look at this Navara. The plastics in here are quite dark, but not quite as dark as that of a Hilux, and it feels much more spacious than a Hilux, but not quite as spacious as the Ranger. The general design is also quite derivative, but it is very well thought out. Use of materials, like most Buckies, is rather hard and rough. There are no soft touch plastics on top of the dash nor on top of the doors. The trim mostly consists of this silver painted plastic. I don't know if they were trying to imitate metal, but if they were, they failed. This piano black plastics and flush sitting buttons do work a treat though. Fit and finish is good, if not perfect. The panel gaps are consistent, but they aren't the smallest. Let's take a closer look though, starting with the door panel. Well, forgive all the dark plastics and you're rewarded with a very well thought out and rather practical panel. The door pockets are of a very good size and you have a secondary coin compartment integrated into the door's grab handle. The door handle is made out of solid metal and the armrest is wrapped in yielding leather. It isn't perfect though. The window switches feel a bit too cheap, the doors don't feel particularly heavy, and the plastics move when you poke it. In this class of vehicle though, does that really matter? Moving to the steering wheel. Nissan has used this particular steering wheel in quite a lot of its SUV models, and to this day it still reminds me of the talking vagina in Netflix's Big Mouth, and now you will never be able to unsee that. Still, its rim is wrapped in leather, the buttons give good feedback, and there are bits of silver to help lift it a bit. The steering column is only adjustable for rake though and not reach, which makes finding a comfortable driving position a bit more tricky. On the other hand, the stalks provide very good dampening, and they are relatively easy to understand. The dials are really attractive to me. They might not have the wow factor as that of the Rangers, but they look good in their own right. Big white digits on a black background makes them very easy to read, and I love the silver bezels, although actual metal would have worked even better. Analog fuel and water temperature gauges finish the package. In between the two analog dials, you will find a big, full-color drives information display. Its graphics are a bit pixelated, but it comes very well equipped. Outside temperature, current time, vehicle settings, vehicle info, as well as a full trip computer are all displayed to the driver. Sadly, this Navara is fitted with an aftermarket infotainment system, which means I won't be able to review Nissan's own, but when I come across one I will be sure to make a video of it. The climate controls must be the highlight of this entire cabin for me. It looks really upmarket, with buttons sitting flush on the center console. It's also very well thought out. Temperature is controlled via buttons on either side of the panel, and fan speed is controlled via a uniquely shaped button in the middle. This is really important because it means that you don't really have to take your eyes off the road when you want to control its major functions. The gear lever is outrageous though. It feels so old-fashioned. Look at all the play it has, and I'm currently in first gear. This is a Buckie though, so it is to be expected, for whatever reason. The handbrake, on the other hand, is wrapped in leather, which is a very nice upmarket touch. As far as bucky seats go, the Navara's is about par for the course. It is wrapped in leather, which is great, but it doesn't provide much side bolstering, which I find rather interesting. If you go off-roading, you would want that extra support. The driver's seat is adjustable for height though, aiding finding a comfortable driving position. With the design out of the way, let's talk practicality. When it comes to storage solutions, the Navara performs rather well. The undampened glove box is of a decent size. You get a tray area in front of the gear lever, 2 wide and deep cup holders, 2 more cup holders that extend from either side of the dash, a quite narrow but deep space underneath the center armrest, big door pockets, as well as a sunglasses holder. Not bad at all, but not best in class. When it comes to storage solutions at least, the Hilux really has its rivals pipped. Get in the back and things are alright. Knee room and headroom is just about enough for an average sized male adult. Under thigh support is rather limited though, and the floor is very high thanks to the bucky's cab on frame construction. The window line is nice and low, and the actual windows are very big, so children will be more than happy back here. You also have your very own air vents, which is excellent for our climate. Storage is alright too. You get surprisingly big rear door pockets, pockets behind each front seat, and a coin compartment integrated into the door's armrest. But you don't get any cup holders, and for that matter, you don't get a center drop-down armrest either. I guess you have to take what you get. When it comes to the loading bay, the Navara really does have your back. It has one of the biggest loading bays in its class. It can also carry up to 1,047 kilograms. That is a very impressive payload indeed. The Navara can also tow up to 3.5 tons. I think I'm starting to get why people love buckies so much. Okay, the Navara is big, so you might be quite intimidated by its sheer size, but because all the controls are so nice and light and the clutch is damn near foolproof, it's not nearly as intimidating as you might think. Regardless, these side view mirrors are great because they help you to gauge its length when you want to go around narrow corners. The engine is refined, for a bucky at least, and provides great mid-range torque. The suspension is firm, but it is very well dampened. This could be because the Navara is one of the very few buckies that are released with independent rear suspension, which means that one wheel doesn't react when the other one hits a bump or undulation. Out on the twisties, and the Navara will get you around a corner, but independent rear suspension doesn't necessarily translate into mountain pass stormer. The steering is quite light, there's a bit of body roll, and the gearbox does not like to be rushed. This is a bucky after all. Out on the open road, and I am surprised by the Navara's competence. The only thing slightly audible is the engine in the background and a bit of tyre roar thrown in the mix as well, particularly on smoother surfaces, but the rest of the cabin is so well insulated from the outside world. This means that long distance cruising isn't nearly as tiring as some other buckies. The engine is refined and provides a good amount of shove to keep up with traffic. However, overtaking might require a bit of forward planning. The suspension is pliant and the seats are rather comfortable. Now, there are slightly better long distance cruisers out there, but for a bucky, this is quite impressive. When it comes to the Navara's reliability, it performs quite well. Common problems include sagging rear suspension and radiator hose wear resulting in coolant leakage. Other than that, it is known to be a reliable bucky. It is worth noting though that models before 2018, like this one, do not make great towing vehicles, as the suspension was a bit too soft so the steering would become light. Best to look for a post 2018 model if you're planning on doing a lot of towing. Or you can have a look at some of its rivals, and oh my gosh, there are so many. There is the quintessential South African bakkie, the Hilux, which offers great engines and a practical interior, but interior design makes it feel smaller. Then there is the VW Amarok, which has a car-like interior and a capable 4-motion all-wheel drive system, but road noise is more noticeable than in the Navara. You also have the option of the Ranger, a great all-rounder in my opinion and very well sought after in the used market. The P-Series is also bakkie well worth your consideration. It looks great, it's very capable, much cheaper than most of its competition, and has an interior that blows its rivals out of the water. Dealer network isn't great yet though, and the ride is harsh. Other than that, it is not bad at all. As always though, test drive all of them. Make sure you find the perfect match for you. The Navara leaves me with quite a lukewarm feeling. It doesn't really do anything wrong. I was just expecting a little bit more from that rear suspension, and the cabin's design is a bit too derivative. It does have a great engine though, a massive loading bay, and it is quite reliable. Parts aren't that expensive either, and the Nissan dealer network is vast. It certainly won't leave you with any regrets. Thank you so much for watching another one of my videos. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up as it makes the world of difference to my channel. If you haven't already, please remember to subscribe and get notified of upcoming videos. I have loads more coming up for you guys, so stay tuned. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Until next time, bye.